Hello, and welcome to the Future is Bilingual podcast. My name is Heather. I hope everyone is doing well today. This is a quick bonus episode that just came to my mind this morning, so I hope you enjoy it. I want to talk about why you should listen to the radio in your target language. So this idea came to me while I was washing dishes this morning because we were listening to Talk FM, which is a Polish radio station, and a little bit inconvenient because I had to stop washing, dry my hands, and take some notes, but that's beyond the point. So before we get started, I want to just remind everybody about Stephen Krashen's theory of comprehensible input. If you don't know who Stephen Krashen is, he is a linguist who taught at University of Southern California, and he had some revolutionary theories in the field of linguistics, and he really helped shape a lot of what we know today about the best ways for students and people to acquire a second language. So that was one of his fields of focus. So he has a theory about comprehensible input that is often known as I+1. So I just want to break it down quickly. I here stands for interlanguage. Interlanguage is the language that students have when they're learning a language. So it's not the target language yet. It's not perfect. It doesn't have all the grammar that should be there. It doesn't have all the vocabulary. So it's this interlanguage. It's this language in between a student's native tongue and their target language, if that makes sense. And we all do this when we learn a language, right? Maybe the order is wrong. There's different ways that interlanguage can look. And if you're a teacher like me, you've seen your students writing and speaking in interlanguage. It's a normal part of learning. So no shame here. It's totally normal. So that's the I. And the +1 means that this input that we're getting is just slightly over our current level. So yeah, I here basically stands for your level. And +1, just a little bit harder. So it's this perfect medium where it's not too hard and it's not too easy. So it's that Goldilocks spot. Why is it not just at your current level? Well, if it's at your current level, you're not really going to make a lot of progress. So here we're trying to look at how we can help students make progress. How can we help get them to that next level? If it's too hard, you're going to disengage. You're not going to maybe even continue to read or listen. And if you do continue to read or listen, you might not even get anything out of it because it's above your level. It's too far above your head. If it's too easy, likewise, you're not going to progress because you already know everything. And you might also get bored and stop listening or reading. So we're really looking for this perfect spot in the middle where it's just slightly above your level. Okay, so that's Stephen Krashen's theory of comprehensible input, often talked about as I+1. If you want to know more about Stephen Krashen, please go look him up. His last name is Krashen with a K, and you can find out lots and lots about him. He is a wonderful person and fabulous linguist. Okay, so I'm going to break this down into the 3 levels, which are advanced, intermediate, and beginner. And to help illustrate my point, I'm going to talk about 3 different languages that I'm working on or maintaining. So for me, my advanced language is French, my intermediate language is Polish, and my beginner language here is Korean. So that'll help hopefully illustrate what I mean, what you can do with the radio to help you progress in these languages. So first, I want to start with the advanced level. Why should you listen to the radio in a language if you're already advanced, if you're already fluent, you're proficient enough in it? Why should you bother listening to the radio? So for a couple of reasons, it can help you maintain the language. So if you're like me and you don't get a chance to speak that language every day, which for me is French, at least having the radio or podcast or videos or something, some input is going to help you to maintain that level. Now, we're talking about radio specifically. So I know I just mentioned videos and podcasts, but I'll get into more reasons why I think radio in particular is useful. So first of all, maintaining the language. Second of all, it helps you to know what's happening in the world, but also in that country or in those countries where the language is spoken. So staying abreast of cultural events is a really useful thing if you're trying to be a good global citizen and know what's happening in the world. Of course, you don't have to take on all the burden of knowing what's happening in every country all over the world, but sometimes it's nice to know what's going on. So, along those same lines, you also can get a different perspective on events that are happening. So, that's really interesting, especially with global events or national events. So, I enjoyed listening to the French radio talk about the elections that were happening in the US. You can hear a lot about coronavirus all over, since it's happening all over the world. You can hear about that in different languages. So, it's just interesting when you understand another language, you can get another perspective of how other people see the world. But you guys already know that, of course. So this is more going towards the intermediate level, but you can increase your vocabulary and learn new words in context. And of course, this is still true if you're advanced. We're all learning new words every day. I think it's especially important that you can learn them in the context. So when you're intermediate or advanced, you already understand probably 95% of what you're listening to. And it's a great opportunity to hear new words, maybe some more academic or scientific words, depending on what you're listening to, and hopefully understand them because of context and learn them, hopefully, and be able to recall them later. Another advantage is that you become more knowledgeable about different topics. So I really thought about this today because I was washing dishes, so I couldn't really change the station. And I was thinking, I really probably wouldn't have ever looked this up, what this woman was talking about this morning. It's not something I would have researched or looked up on my own. But now I'm listening to radio. They're talking about it. So I'm listening and it's interesting. So I think it is a good chance to just be exposed to different topics that you wouldn't normally seek out on your own. And it also helps you to broaden the topics that you're able to talk about. So, especially the upper intermediate advanced, you already can talk about a lot of things. But listening to different people, different radio hosts and interviewees who come on and they talk about all sorts of different topics that maybe you're not interested in normally, like for me, maybe some science or medical topics. That's not my day to day, but I do find it interesting. And that helps me be a more well rounded person. And when I'm doing it in a target language, that helps me to be able to talk about more things with more people. So you never know who you're going to meet and what their interests are. I just think it'll help you be more competent when you're speaking and be able to understand and talk about different topics. So, a few more advantages for the intermediate level is that listening to radio helps you improve your listening comprehension. You're getting more audio input and you're just having more exposure to the language. So, you're going to eventually, over time, be more used to the sounds. Another advantage is that you hear a variety of voices and accents, and that's really useful, especially if you are someone who maybe only speaks a language with a few people. Maybe you only speak it in a classroom with your teacher and some students, so you only heard a couple of different people speaking the language. It can really broaden your view of that language, broaden your ability to comprehend the way different speakers will pronounce things. Another advantage that makes radio different from videos is that you have no visual support. So you're really testing your own listening comprehension without any other clues as to what they're talking about. So movies are great, videos are great, but the thing about radio and podcasts is that you really have to understand what's happening because nothing else is going to help you understand. So I think that's really great for the intermediate and advanced levels. Another interesting thing that is on radios and some podcasts is that there's commercials, and those can actually be great learning tools. So you can learn some useful vocabulary, understand what they're selling, maybe hear words like sale, reduction, different words that they might use, percentages, there's math involved, there's numbers involved often. And we all know for some reason, learning numbers takes so long. I don't know why. It's just hard to remember. It's hard to be able to produce the right number, no matter what language, but especially French. People know French numbers are crazy. Polish does not make it any easier with pronunciation. So numbers can be challenging, so it's good to have more practice. And of course, my favorite part about audio only is that you can do anything else while you're listening to the radio or while you're listening to a podcast. So my favorite things to do are clean, wash the dishes, fold laundry, make meals. There's just so much you can do because you don't need to be watching the video. You don't need subtitles. You're able to just go about your day. You can take a walk, which is another great thing to do while you're listening to radio or podcasts. It's been freezing here, so I have not gone out for a walk. I also have very loud children, so that unfortunately, that's my dream, is to take a walk by myself, but I digress. So you can definitely use radio and podcasts while you're going about your day, which should make it easier to include them, make it part of your routine. You don't need a special time with peace and quiet to be able to sit down and focus. You can really just have it in the background, you know, be half listening, be listening intently, depending on what's happening. But it's really, I just think it's an easy thing to include in your daily routine, no matter what you're doing. If you're at work, you can put headphones in. I think it's just really accessible for everyone. So, the last advantage that I thought about for intermediate learners is that listening to the radio helps you get used to the speed that native speakers speak at. So, advanced learners, you probably already are used to this, but again, you're going to hear, like I said, different people speaking with a variety of different speeds. So, that'll help you as well. Just train your ear. A lot of times, beginners and lower intermediate students complain that the audio is too fast. Oh, Spanish speakers speak so fast, but really, we all speak very fast in our native languages. Maybe not all of us, but many speakers will speak very fast in their native language without realizing how fast they're speaking because their brain keeps up with it. It just seems normal. So it's very normal for lower intermediate beginners to believe that the speakers are speaking too fast. But for someone at the advanced or the upper intermediate level, it should sound normal. You should be able to keep up with it. So it's more a matter of training your ear and training your brain to keep up. Okay, so I know that was a lot for the advanced and intermediate. And while I'm recording, I'm thinking about some languages that are very different. For example, spoken and written, the language that's taught at school versus the language that's spoken at home. So unfortunately, I'm not very familiar with languages like that. For example, Arabic has Fusha, which is standard Arabic, which is what the news is presented in, schools are taught in, but then everybody speaks a dialect at home. So I'm not super well versed in that, so I don't want to speak to that specifically. So I do apologize if this podcast episode about radio doesn't really help you, because maybe you don't need the scholastic, the academic language. You need the spoken on the streets in the home language. So I do apologize if this doesn't really make sense for your language goals. Okay, so now let's talk about being a beginner and using the radio. So if you remember Krashen's theory of comprehensible input, the radio is way too hard for a beginner. And I turned on the Korean radio today, and yeah, I understood nothing. I have basic knowledge of some Korean, but yeah, it was just, of course, it's way over my head. So in terms of comprehensible input, it's way above. However, I kept listening for a few reasons. I think it's an interesting way to train your ear to get used to the melody of the language, the sounds of the language. It's really, you need a lot of input in order to produce output. So we need to read and listen a lot to a language before we're going to be able to produce it, speak it, and write it. So I think you can get some training on your ear, especially for languages that have different sounds than your native tongue. So there's many, many examples of that. I'm sure you can all think of your own in languages that you study. So I was listening to Korean radio this morning, just trying to catch how the language sounds, just the melody of it, the way things flow together, the sounds that are coming out. You can also hear a variety of voices. So I talked about this earlier, different accents, young people, old people, males, females, non-binary. There's all sorts of things that you're going to hear when you listen to the radio. That's different from a podcast. So if you're listening to a podcast, it's usually the same person, the same two people that talk. Unless it's a podcast that has interviews, then you're going to hear more of a variety of voices. Another thing is that it could just be enjoyable. So I very much enjoyed listening to this Korean radio station because the male speaker had such a nice voice and he made Korean sound so beautiful. And it was him talking, and then they would play this really nice, calm song. And then he'd go back and talk about it. And then it would go back to a different song. And it was very enjoyable, even though I understood 0% of what was being said. So you don't have to always get something out of it, especially when you're a beginner. You don't want to set your expectations too high. So I wasn't expecting to know what they're saying. I was just listening to listen. And lastly, don't forget that the radio is not just talk radio, it's also music. And music can be appreciated even when you understand nothing of what's being sung about. Of course, it's not to the same degree that you would enjoy a song when you understand the lyrics. But again, you can listen to it and just enjoy the music for what it is. So today I did that. There were some songs that came on and they were very enjoyable, even though I didn't understand them. I did hear the, the phrase "saram hai," which is "I love you." So I do want to say that it is possible, even as a beginner level, to use the radio in a certain way to just train your ear and get your ear used to the language. So obviously, we don't have the same goals as a beginner as we do when we're intermediate or advanced. That's obvious. But I still think it's better to start listening to it and not wait until we have that perfect level. I think a lot of times we do this to ourselves with language learning. Oh, I'll read a book when I get to a B level, an intermediate level. Or, oh, I'll start watching K dramas once I can understand what they're saying. But you don't have to wait. If you want to do something, you should just start doing it and use all the support that you need. If you need subtitles, watch it with subtitles. If you need support to enjoy something, you should just be able to start it right away. You shouldn't have to wait until you reach a certain goal to start doing something. So, if let's say you wanted to read a book, there's plenty of books that you can get that are bilingual. And there's people that suggest doing this as well, just either reading a book you already know or reading a book that has it in both languages so you can compare and read back and forth. There's many ways to get around it if you don't think you're at the certain level yet. So just something to consider when you are on, it's a journey. We're not going to get from nothing to the perfect C2 very advanced level. You have to kind of go through the different steps and use the different supports. I just want to talk a little bit about when, and I know I already mentioned you can do this at any time of the day, but you also want to think about what your goals are. So for me, if it's just Korean, it's the beginner language. For me, I can listen to it anytime because I'm not focusing on what they're saying. So I can play that at any time. If my kids are screaming and I don't hear what he says, it's not a big deal. But if it's your intermediate or advanced language and you're trying to maintain or progress, you might want to pick a time when you can focus more. You might want to also pick a time when you're more alert, maybe not at 10 p.m. when you're trying to fall asleep or you're ready to fall asleep. Just think about your goals. Think about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish. Are you just enjoying the language for what it is, or are you trying to really listen to the discussion that's happening? And finally, where can you get radio in your target language? So my favorite app is called My Tuner Free, and it's a radio app, and it has so many. I think it probably has every country on there. You can just scroll, and it's alphabetical, so that's a little bit annoying if you're trying to listen to radio from Zimbabwe. But it's just a really great app, and it's free. So I definitely suggest checking it out if you're interested in music and talk radio from other countries. So that's My Tuner Free, and you can find that in your app store. And then if you know radio stations in the countries that you're interested in, you can also just find their apps. Most radio stations have apps now that you can listen to. So I can't mention them all. I don't know them all, but definitely feel free to do some searching for radio apps and just consider adding it into your language study. So maybe while you're on the train commuting somewhere or in your car, or like I said, cleaning up the house, washing dishes, doing those sorts of things when you haven't been doing language study, now you can maybe add it into those times. Just something to consider. And I hope that you enjoyed this quick bonus episode. Before we wrap up, I just want to quickly go through the different ways that listening to the radio can help you, no matter what level you're at and what language you're trying to study. So, the first is it can help you maintain a language that you're already advanced or proficient in. Number two, it can help you keep abreast of different cultural events. Number three, it can help you increase your vocabulary and learn new words in context. Number four, help you become more knowledgeable about subjects that you may not look for on your own. and broaden your horizons a bit. Number 5, you can hear different perspectives on global events that are covered. Number 6, help you improve your listening comprehension, and there's no visual aids to help you. Number 7, you get to hear a variety of different voices and accents, so that helps your ear as well get used to different people and the way that they speak. Number 8, you get used to the speed at which native speakers talk. Number 9, commercials can be a great learning tool, and you can learn lots of different vocabulary and practice numbers as well. Number 10, you can do other tasks while you're listening to the radio, so you can really include it in your day easily. Number 11, if you're a beginner, it can help you to train your ear to the sounds of the language and the melody and the flow. Number 12, you can enjoy music in any language, but especially if it's a target language you're trying to work on. And number 13, it can just be enjoyable to hear the way a different language sounds, and it can make it a pleasant experience so that you can eventually build up to more study of the language. It doesn't all have to be work and writing and textbooks. So that's my list. I thank you guys so much for joining me in this bonus episode today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope everybody stays safe. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. Happy Hanukkah if you're celebrating that, as Hanukkah is happening and ending tomorrow. And Christmas will be soon, Kwanzaa as well. So hopefully I'll have another episode out before then. But if not, I wish everybody the best for this season. And we will talk to you soon, hopefully before 2021. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.